Now, as I read through that document, it occurred to me, and from what I've heard they've been saying, which I haven't liked very much either, that Labour is the pessimistic party. It spreads its gloom wherever it goes. There's no joyous acceptance of what is right or determination to improve what is wrong. There's no pride in Britain's achievements. Instead, there's a compulsive concentration on failure and a kind of envy which resents success. And it's that kind of sourness which has made them a party which has given up hope. They've no hope that British industry can ever compete, so they take cover behind import controls. We believe British industry can compete, and so we're going to give it the opportunity. They've no hope and no determination to achieve multilateral disarmament, disarmament on all sides. So they go in for one-sided abandonment of our deterrent, while they leave nuclear weapons in the hands of our sworn enemies. They've no hope that Britain can make her way in Europe, so they want to pull out of the common market. They've no hope of real jobs for our people, so they go in for false jobs, whatever the cost. Labour has no hope for Britain, and it offers no hope to Britain. They've no faith in the British people. What a contrast with us. Where Labour's pessimistic, we are full of hope. Where they are bitter, we are determined to succeed. Where they fear the future, we rise to the challenge, to the excitement and the adventure. But then, ours is the British way. This is a nation built on the success of merchant venturers, men who were willing to sail out into the unknown, to carry our trade and bring back wealth to our people, men who took our ways of freedom and law to countries who would never otherwise have known them, and some who would wish they still have them. Imagine what Labour would have done to those brave seafarers who risked all on the chance of success. Just imagine had they been in power in those days. First, those merchant venturers who went out in the times of the First Elizabeth, they would have had to have been registered. Then they'd have to enter into a planning agreement with the relevant government department. After that, there'd be meetings with the Minister of Trade to decide which merchant would be allowed to venture and where. Then the National Investment Bank would have to decide if anyone was allowed to invest in the fitting out of the ship, and which pension fund was to be expected to risk its money. And then the TUC would have nominated 50% of the representatives of any governing body to decide on a division of the profits, if there were any, after tax. A merchant venturer could then, with all those permissions, leave Britain, as long as he'd cleared the voyage with a foreign investment unit and satisfied the shop stewards that there were no non-union cabin boys on board. No wonder under Labour no one ventures. And friends, if no one ventures, no one else gains. And that's why the economy foundered for years. And it's not only the economy. We said a council tenant should be able to buy his own home. They too should have the chance to be freeholders, heirs to Runnymede. but Labour can't stomach it. They'd stop all council house sales at present prices. They'd take away the discounts you get for years of rent paying. And they'd allow local councils to stop sales altogether. But that's not enough for them. They'd fix a fetter on the freehold of the people who've already bought. They'd limit your power to sell what is yours. They'd limit your freehold. Do you remember Kipling's famous verse? At Runnymede, your rights were won at Runnymede. No freeman shall be fined or bound or dispossessed of freehold ground. Well, he would under Labour. We Conservatives believe passionately in giving a chance to those who've never had one before, and giving a chance to be independent of government and not dependent on every political whim, whether of national or local government. Conservatives give you the chance to choose, for we Conservatives believe in freedom. And notice that I say freedom, not license. There's no devil take the hindmost philosophy here. We are committed to a civilized society where the poor and the sick, the disabled and the elderly are properly cared for by the community, cared for by their families. And cared for by voluntary agencies. And one thing which our opponents hate is the excellent record of this government in both pensions and in the National Health Service, in spite of the most difficult world recession we've been through. Because the facts are that after the last 4 years of Tory government, the retirement pension now buys more than ever it did under Labour. And the facts are that despite the recession and despite the scares we had last time, there are now 56,000 more nurses and 7,000 more doctors in the National Health Service, which is now able to treat 2 million more patients a year. Take those facts and shout them from the housetops, because that is how Conservatives have cared. Oh yes, we believe in the welfare state, but we don't stop there. We believe also in voluntary effort and family support. They march hand in hand to achieve the best possible life for the needy and the disadvantaged. That's effective Conservative care. Yet, Mr. Chairman, we know that freedom cannot survive without personal responsibility. There's a very famous quotation which I repeated one day in the House of Commons when I said, do you remember who it was who said, freedom incurs responsibility. That's why so many men fear it. Who, they yelled. Well, they're always yelling at question time. Who, they yelled. I'm thinking they caught me out. I couldn't remember. As a matter of fact, it was George Bernard Shaw. But it's absolutely right. Freedom incurs responsibility. Because we know that freedom depends upon us all regaining that sense of discipline and duty upon which the free society depends. And we think that freedom is worth defending, even though it be challenged 8,000 miles away.